Blizzard just changed TBC Anniversary Forever TBC Phase 3. A video by No Hit Jerome.
Blizzard just changed TBC Anniversary forever with a huge philosophy shift. Previously, Blizzard had said this about TBC raid difficulty.
The raiding community knows exactly what's going on, and they want a challenge. They want more of a challenge.
But recently, everything has changed. Agrend, one of the lead developers of Classic WoW, he came out with a bombshell. Agrend said, after years of watching data around the Classic behavior, we don't believe difficult raid content is actually what the players want. And Blizzard, they definitely stuck with that mindset for the Burning Crusade Anniversary. They launched the game in a post-nerf state for Gruul, Magtheridon, even Karazhan, which a lot of people would say is probably not a raid that really need nerfing at all. But now, short of a last-second shocking decision, it seems like Blizzard has really decided that Phase 3 is going to be mostly untouched. You know, other than a few tweaks here or there, like the very slight Mother Shiraz nerf.
I've also seen on the PTR, I don't know if Jerome is going to talk about this, so I'm just going to mention it real quick here. That way, you guys know that I've been on the PTR as well and done some testing. There's potions you can now buy with marks of Sargeras, and I think it was haste potions. Was it haste and something else? At least haste potions, right? So basically it looks like anything using terror cones or that is super expensive to buy is now you can get them through marks instead. And I'm wondering if this is only for the PTR or if they will roll this out with Phase 3 as well. That's going to be interesting to see, because if this comes with Phase 3, that is a quite substantial change that could impact the economy and everything else as well. But it could also just be for the PTR, to get more quote-unquote accurate boss DPS testing on the public test realm.
Decision that, according to the community, is the right decision. Most players, they want TBC Anniversary Phase 3 in Black Temple to essentially be untouched. And perhaps the key word really is authenticity. But it is really a surprising decision if it holds, because Blizzard, just back in April, specifically said that they reviewed player progress data and the completion data, and they figured something out. That post-nerf difficulty was good. It had met and even exceeded their own expectations. In fact,
I always said this as well back at launch, that if they're gonna do one or the other, post-nerf is way better than pre-nerf. Because if you do pre-nerf, you are appealing to the vocal minority and the most hardcore of people. It's kind of like if Blizzard were to listen to only the Race the World First Andes in retail WoW and design the entire game based on them. Which, sure, they do tune the difficulty for Race the World First for the first couple of weeks, but that scene is also like way bigger than it is in Classic. But you get my point, right? If they had to do one or the other in Classic, I think post-nerf makes a lot of sense, especially for TBC rerun. It's like TBC Classic again, which is rather interesting.
use that specific information as the rationale for nerfing SSC and TK as well. But something is definitely different with the Black Temple. Maybe it's the reverence that players have for it. After all, other than probably Karazhan for most players, it would be considered the very best raid in the Burning Crusade. Some people in the YouTube comments have even mentioned quitting the game if Black Temple came out and was heavily nerfed. People don't want to just go in and one-shot Illidan and have no challenge at all, and have an inauthentic experience. I mean, short of getting the Warglaives the first week, and never having to log in ever again.
What? I don't want to play this game anymore, man. Honestly, like, I think we're just going to play Final Fantasy today.
Right now, Blizzard is in a very difficult position.
Bro, he was inspecting somebody else, though.
They're forced to fight the demands of the player base who really want an authentic Black Temple experience, while at the same time, the data tells them that some percentage of the player base is going to struggle as a result if they go pre-nerf.
Our guiding principle was no changes. The goal was to provide as true-to-life, authentic experience of Classic that we possibly could for the community. And we accomplished that. What was interesting to me is to see this vibrant community that embraced it and then said, hey, but we're not exactly the same as we were 15 years ago.
But while the player base has changed, with many players unfortunately having less time to play overall, at the same time, at heart, most players would definitely say they do want the real and authentic challenges. Nobody wants just a completely nerfed and inauthentic version of the game. That also means that an across-the-board nerf to every single fight in the Black Temple really wouldn't have made sense in the first place. A fight like Council is definitely going to be very hard for a lot of guilds, or even Illidan himself. But nerfing a fight like Akama or Terran Gorefiend, it just would have...
I do feel like for TBC Anniversary right now, people are very split, because like you had the whole pre-nerf versus post-nerf discussion, which was a really heated debate as well, which I feel like it would take almost no work on Blizzard's end to give you a toggle ability in the game, kind of like Season of Discovery, where you had an NPC at the start of the raid where you could toggle which difficulty you wanted to have for the raid itself. Doesn't seem like that would take a lot of resources to actually make, and they could have done some things to made this TBC way better than it ended up being. Maybe appeal to more people as well. They could have had the TBC pristine servers with absolutely no changes, and they could have had an experimental TBC to be like, okay, so how do people actually vibe with changes? And that way they would also get really solid results on which one people do choose, both instantly at launch, but also long term, which one people migrate to. Maybe like we start off with everybody being like, okay, I'm gonna choose pristine TBC, but then you play through half of TBC and you think, you know what, maybe this expansion would be good with some changes, let me go and give it a try. And then by the end of TBC, it's a 50-50, or maybe even 60% on the experimental one and 40% on the pristine one. And on the experimental one, they could have had a flex toggle ability for raids, where you could have had both pre-nerf and post-nerf, and you choose. They could have also added a bunch of other quality of life stuff, including being able to spend marks, or not marks, but emblems, on bags of loot for materials and raid consumes. That way you can just do dungeons and raids and also get emblems from raids, kind of like Season of Mastery, Season of Discovery, Tarnished Undermine Real system, where you get a currency for doing endgame dungeons or endgame raids, and you can spend that currency on bags of loot, and that loot can contain endgame materials or even endgame potions and endgame flasks. And also, I would want to see a TBC with alpha, beta, and gamma dungeons from Wrath Classic. Like, if they had the balls to give us those heroic plus dungeons in Wrath, why not also extend those balls to do that in TBC as well? Because I already thought that was a very ballsy move in Wrath Classic. And I'm just like, you've already done it once to the most loved expansion of all time, and the system was so good that they kept on carrying with it in Cataclysm and the now Mist of Pandaria. So it's obviously something people vibe with. Why not do that in TBC as well? At least on an experimental realm. I don't know.
Cheapen the entire experience. And talking about those across-the-board nerfs, which we've seen in Kara and Gruul and pretty much every raid so far, this kind of also explains maybe a reason Blizzard hasn't pulled the trigger yet. Those other raids, they had built-in nerf states. Blizzard had already made them back in the day, so turning Lady Vash into an easier fight, it just meant flipping a switch for Blizzard. In fact, some players speculate that the reason we got nerfed Karazhan, for example, was not because Blizzard actually really wanted to do that, but because they nerfed every single raid that was possible and gave us basically the final endgame state of the game. The idea being that that would minimize the work they would have to do down the road, and so they could continue focusing on things like Classic Plus, instead of having to constantly tweak every single boss fight. The problem is, Black Temple, and Sunwell for that matter, they just don't have those nerfs, other than, again, those very small ones like the Mother Shiraz nerf. In order for Blizzard to nerf Phase 3, they would have to come up with their own creative solutions, ones that don't end up pissing off half the player base. It seems very likely, with room for a shocking change to come in the last minute, that the conclusion Blizzard came to was that it just wasn't worth the risk. Though if Blizzard comes in from the top rope, there is a solution that some community members have brought up, some sort of stacking ICC buff. So the first week we get a completely authentic Black Temple, even the second week. But eventually you get an optional buff you can turn on that makes the raid slightly easier. But even that seems like a stretch. And it seems much more likely that Blizzard is just going to let this one play out, but perhaps already gearing up for potential complaints about the difficulty and cost of raiding in Phase 3. Blizzard has made a very shocking change that will absolutely help facilitate any kind of progression raiding any kind of difficult rating that we might see. They just implemented a brand new test that allows for Marks of the Illidari. Those are the items that drop in raids like Black Temple,
Yeah.
even Tempest Keep as well.
That's
As
what I
of
was
now,
talking
they
about,
can be
dude.
converted into 10 haste potions or 10 destruction potions on the PTR. Some Reddit math estimates you might get between 20 and 40 of these marks per raid. That would significantly cut down the biggest
Yo, if I'm coming back and actively playing TBC again, I'm gonna start hosting my own raids and hard reserve all of these marks. Not only that, I'm gonna pre-sell the Warglaves, so if they drop, they are going to be pre-sold for 100,000 gold. And any tier pieces as well, also pre-sold. Just sell everything, because apparently that is allowed, but GDKPs are not allowed. So I'm just gonna host my own raids, sell all the loot, and hard reserve the marks for myself to get potions and sell the potions. Bro, I'm gonna make like 10 million gold per month. Let's go.
chunk of consume costs and drop it all the way to 0 with these changes. But it really gets even crazier than that, because there's no indication on the news post at all.
That's just me clowning on, I'm not a huge GDKP fan, right? But I feel like the way Blizzard has went around with banning GDKPs this time, but allowing selling of raid loot, is honestly pathetic, stupid, and dumb. It's pathetic, stupid, and dumb. Blizzard is pathetic, stupid, and dumb for doing it that way. Because what does it change? Everything is still allowed, except for sharing the gold. So one person can still host a raid and sell all of the raid loot, and you can do the bidding in a third-party, chatting program, like Discord, for example, or anything else. You can do the bidding there and just sell the loot, because apparently selling loot is actually allowed, but doing GDKP is not allowed. Super stupid. If they're gonna ban one, they should just ban any transaction of gold for raid items.
That you can't sell these haste pots or destruction pots. That would entirely open up a new way of making profit in raids, and it would really make going back to old raids that much more lucrative. That would mean you could go back to a Tempest Keep, for example, and you could make significant money just from doing these old raids on your main. Or maybe Blizzard hopes you might do them on your ults as well and get caught up. You'd be getting gear, you'd be getting caught up, and you'd be getting raid consumes and gold too. If this holds, it is really wild to see a completely new gold maker basically crop up out of nowhere and really allow players to start affording their epic gems and their chants in a really new way. The idea seems a little bit suspiciously similar to a system we saw on Season of Discovery. I'm talking about the Tarnished Under My Reals, which essentially gave you a box of materials just for doing a dungeon or a raid. Blizzard loved this system inside. They specifically said when AQ40 items were underrepresented on players, also known as too expensive, that they really, really liked the idea of making those items available through the Real system. Sounds a little bit suspiciously similar to the potion changes we just got. And it also makes you wonder if this is just the...
So, like I just said at the start of the video, if they do, if they give us this in the live version of the game and not just on PTR, where you can turn these marks into haste potions, how do people feel about that? Is that like a welcome change, or do people get mad?
beginning of multiple changes of things being added to this potion vendor. But here's the thing, harder raids and free potions, they're not the only big changes that Phase 3 is having. Blizzard has promised since the very beginning an accelerated release cadence for their 20th anniversary realms. But up until this point, that really has not happened in TBC at all. In fact, in Phase 2 of the Burning Crusade, which back in 2021 lasted 106 days, this time around is lasting exactly 105 days. The initial timelines at TBC say this is exactly what we should have expected. It's going perfectly according to plan. We're supposed to get Black Temple at the end of summer. That's alongside the Epic Gems and Mount Hyjal and the Netherwing Dailies and the Arena Season 3. And that also fits perfectly with the timeline idea of having September 12th be BlizzCon. Maybe a nice Classic Plus announcement there. But listen to this part. Autumn, also known as fall in America, is Phase 3.5 with ZA, and then Sunwell as well. So what are we actually missing here? Well, we gotta get back to raid difficulty again. Difficult Black Temple means the typical raiding guild, they're gonna be easily spending 2 nights a week, Hyjal, Black Temple. It's not gonna be easy. That's gonna definitely keep most of the sweatier guilds completely occupied. But TBC Anniversary, it really is huge. The population is very big. Not every single player is gonna be doing these 25-man raids. So, what about 10-man content? And here's a problem. 10-man content in TBC was very, very well received. Jeff Kaplan, in a 2007 interview, he once said that the 10-man content was far and away the most popular raiding content. People freaking love 10-mans, and ZA, it definitely fits the bill. But Blizzard really has to walk a delicate line here, because if you essentially merge Black Temple and ZA, which makes some sense, into the exact same phase, well, suddenly the sweatiest players, they're going to feel like they're obligated to do not only ZA and Black Temple and Hyjal. It's just going to be too much. Definitely subscribe because I want to do some kind of poll, some kind of update on this. But my guess is that players in general would prefer if TBC Anniversary just kind of slowed things down, or at least kept the current pace. Basically, you give a ton of room to Black Temple, you give a moderate amount of room to ZA, maybe 8 or 9 weeks, you end up in Sunwell sometime in the wintertime, and then Classic Plus drops in the middle of winter. While that makes a lot of sense for TBC, there is also an entirely...
Bro, there is no way. Classic Plus comes out less than 4 weeks after BlizzCon. If there was any way for me to bet on that, I would probably bet all of my life savings on it, okay? I don't see any other thing happening, bro. Also, I need to... I got this guy following me, man. Stop it. Leave me alone.
plausible scenario where Classic Plus just drops right after BlizzCon, because that is what happened with Season of Discovery last time. Came out within 30 days. It's also entirely possible that once we see Classic Plus, we're going to be too enthralled to want to play anything else, and we're just going to have to play Classic Plus that very same day. But we'll get to that bridge when we get to it, because for now, we have Phase 3 TBC coming. And it really looks like it's going to be the most...
Bro, watching Jerome videos, or at least reacting to them, I never know where I want to be, because if I start in the bottom left, for this one, he's been in the bottom left for a while now. I've just been focusing on the video itself instead of his face camera. Sometimes I just zone out and just watch the video without even thinking about where my camera is. I should just be in the top left, man. We need to go back into playing the Jerome game when watching Jerome videos of avoiding his face camera, because sometimes he starts in the bottom left, then top left, then top right. He does like a clockwise movement. It's great.
Authentic version of the game it possibly can be.
Okay.
Whether your guild ends up really struggling, I am definitely worried for my own, or you clear it day one. The dream of killing Illidan and getting those Warglaives, and all the other cool loot too, like Zardoom, it is very much alive. I hope you go out there and enjoy an absolutely awesome phase, and make sure to subscribe for more TBC content.
It will be interesting to see if they actually give us those potions for marks in the live version of the game, or if that's only on the PTR. That's something I'm looking forward to finding out. I don't really think Blizzard would have the balls to do that, but then again, I don't know, like... Would that be a welcome change? For me, it would be, but I'm not sure if I'm in the majority or the minority on that one. Maybe I'm cooked, you know? Wouldn't be the first time. Alright, I'm going to leave a link to Jerome's video down below in the description, as always, so go and check that one out as well. I can't wait to play some Phase 3. I've been saying this for a while. Phase 3 is like, raid-wise, it's the only phase that I really care about. Well, I shouldn't really say only. It's just Phase 1 and Phase 2 are rather boring to me raid-wise, because I raided them so much back in TBC Classic, and also in other versions of the game, but Black Temple and Sunwell, I haven't really been that active, so I kinda maybe want to get back into it. It kinda depends on the timing on it, of everything, because with Phase 3 coming out now soon, we have Race the World First in retail, and then we have BlizzCon in less than 4 weeks. It's a lot of stuff happening, man, it really is. Alright, leave your thoughts in the comments, by the way. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.